With that, I will go to item number 10, approval of the minutes of the May 9th, 2022 board meeting. Can I have a motion? Mr. Lovelace?
I make the motion that we approve the minutes of the May 9th, 2022 board meeting.
Can I have a second? Oh, I have a second. Mr. Hogan seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote on that approval. And that is 6 to no opposed. And I'd like to take this moment to thank from that meeting. I attended virtually. I really felt great, but I had been exposed in following the 5-day rule. I didn't want to come with any germs. So I thank you, Mr. Lovelace, for taking over for me and doing a great job. So I just wanted to thank you publicly for that. And it was funny because I kept feeling like I was here, but I wasn't here. And y'all did great. Public participation is number 11, and we have none, so we can move right along. Number 12, action is necessary and appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. You have one, Mr. Lovelace?
Yeah, I have two. On item 3A, selected employment items as shown in Exhibit A, I make the motion that we approve that item.
Is there a second? Mr. Hogan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is 6 to none.
And on item 3C, I have the following motion. I make the motion that the board approves Evergreen Solutions, LLC, contract in the amount of $78,500 with the caveats that Evergreen will include non-public sector comparisons for non-academic positions, will make the determination whether the position should be exempt or non-exempt, and will include a study regarding organizational structure, a number of management positions, and/or position duties.
Is there a second? There's a second, Mr. Hogan. Now, since you made the motion, you want to explain to the public the importance of
Yes, this is
a salary study.
First of all, several of these caveats, I have to be totally honest, or came from Ms. Huddle. I did, the last item on there was something that I had wondered about. But basically, we're doing a salary study, and we want to make sure that, I know it was competitively put out for proposals, and Evergreen Solutions came back with the most competitive by a large amount from what I can understand, and that there were these items that I mentioned as caveats in there would be, I don't think they're in addition to, I think they're clarification to the proposal submitted by Evergreen, and I just wanted to make sure that those items were addressed so that there wouldn't be any miscommunication between what the board intended and what Evergreen quoted.
Any other questions? All those in favor? And that is 6 to no opposed, and that carries. Next is number 13. No, excuse me, we have one more. Ms. Moore, thank you.
Per the executive session letter D, legal advice regarding employee resignation, I move that the board accept the resignation of employee 30 effective June 30th, 2022, subject to the terms agreed upon by the board and employee 30.
Is there a second? I see a second, Ms. Hines. And any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is 6 to none. That motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Moore. And that's it for executive session items. Number 13, approval of textbook adoptions. CTE Course High School Science Exhibit E. Ms. Miller.
Chair Hammond and board members and Dr. Ross. So tonight we're bringing you our CTE and high school science textbook adoption recommendations. And of course, I would like to thank Beth Bolin, our District 5 Science Coordinator, and Mr. Will McGinney, our Assistant Director of our Career and Technical Education, for being here tonight and for their leadership and the work of their committees in reviewing the state recommended textbooks and bringing us a recommendation to adopt. As has been the case with the past ones that I've brought you at the state level, committees have reviewed the CTE and high school science instructional materials beginning in the summer of 2021. Based on committee recommendations, the State Department of Education did hold a public review period, and the State Board of Education approved the recommendations on December 14th of 21 and February 18th of 22. Using the list of the approved textbooks from the State Department and following Board Policy IJJ, textbook selection and adoption, the district selection process began in mid-March. Final recommendations from the district committees consisting of administrators, teachers, and parents were made by May 11th, 2022, and are being brought forward tonight for board review and approval. The administration supports the approval of these textbooks and recommends that the board approve these 2022-2023 CTE and high school science textbook adoptions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Miller? Well, we consider you guys the experts on that, and I know you did your work and your homework. Do I have a motion? Ms. Gardner?
I move that we approve the administration's support of the textbooks. Sorry, I need to start over because that sentence was not making sense. I move that we approve the textbooks that the administration has brought forward for the listed in Exhibit E.
Is there a second? Ms. Moore seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it still carries. One's not in here. The next, we have first reading of, number 14, first reading of the FY 2022-2023 General Fund Budget, Exhibit F.
Madam Chair, I'll be bringing the first reading of our fiscal year 2022-2023 general fund budget. I would ask that we prepare for 3 readings of this. That would still allow us to get this in before July 1. Reason being is that our revenue is, a large part of it is going through conference committee. And we have variation between the House plan and the Senate plan. And while these are estimates, we would like to get a little closer into some realities before the final reading. So I would ask that we be prepared for a 3rd reading of this on the 27th, that last meeting in June.
And Dr. Ross, that's really because of the House version and the Senate version, and they haven't come back together yet.
Both houses are proposing a new funding model, and there are different areas on where we stand. For instance, we're going to hear tomorrow, so I'll be paying close attention to tomorrow's conference session about what may come out of the compromises. The House has revised its plan. In the revision of the House plan, hold harmless is removed. So we have been messaging to you that there was a hold harmless in that plan. This part has removed that, but has kept in a proviso 1.79, which is the local supplement. This has an impact on us significantly, $7 million. So I want to make sure we are very clear, and that we're not at our next meeting, that we have a closer view. So while tonight is a first reading, I want us the confidence that you'll have 2 more views of this before you have your final viewing of this. I think every district in the state now is on standby. You may have seen in the media some districts who have promised raises are now thinking, okay, let's pull back this until we find out what's, so what you'll see tonight is more of the Senate plan. that we presented at our last meeting. But I just wanted to prepare the board and the community of a potential third reading of this as this changes. Every CFO in the state of South Carolina is learning this model, and now they're learning two versions of it. And so I think we need that opportunity as we prepare these estimates to give some latitude in terms of what these estimates are going to be.
So you still need you would like a first reading
I still would
tonight,
like
just
a
to get us
first reading
moving?
to
Okay.
advance it, correct? And then budget workshop at the next meeting, and then the third reading.
Madam Chair, I'd like to remind the board, too, that we have to have a separate meeting
Right, we have a
before, which you have to have, which is a public
public.
hearing. And then you have to swing into a second.
We do that in one meeting.
Second reading would be one night. But would there be any way we could just have the two readings and wait till, what we talking about is a special call meeting possibly?
No, sir. So
No.
what I would recommend is tonight be first reading, what we propose. We listen to the conference committee tomorrow, add that into the deliberations. We would do our budget workshop at the June 13th meeting, follow into the second reading like we would normally do. But we provide maybe for the June 27th meeting, a possible third if we needed it.
Right, okay. I get it.
All right.
That gives us the chance to change
flexibility.
anything around.
So the public hearing would be on the June 27th meeting.
We can make the public hearing on the June 13th.
13th.
I don't think you can do that without, what
do
the
it.
point is I'm making is,
Mr. Lovelace, I know you're right that you have to have but what we've done in the past is you have the public input the meeting and then the next meeting. It's always at the same night.
that's correct, but the issue that I'm saying is that we have to know what exactly we're going to receive before we have the public hearing. And if we're unsure of that, then the public hearing could not occur until we're sure what the conference committee or whomever is going to hand down to us. That's the point that I was trying to make.
Good point. So what I think we can do is we'll present first reading tonight. We'll listen tomorrow. We have an officers meeting Thursday, and then we'll plan accordingly from there. That works out. So I'm going to confidently present one of the Senate versions. And so we looked at what do we have in both. Funding the step increases for teachers. The employee contributions both rest in the House and Senate. We saw the differences with the Senate and the House plan. We're hearing that the version 2 of the House plan may add additional monies, but we didn't see that yet. We'll listen for that tomorrow. The employer health insurance premium is still there, so we've included that. That's both in the House and the Senate plan. And then while we're doing a salary study that we appreciate you all approving tonight for a lot of our positions that are non-teaching related, there was a mandatory increase for bus drivers, so we included that in our plan as well. Just some considerations on the state level. This new money that is $227 million that is rolled up based on our 135th day numbers for this year. We can see, as we did this year, an adjustment on our 45th day, so these numbers are very important. But the Senate program provides a stake in the ground, and that gave us a lot of flexibility because that stake in the ground meant you received the same amount of funding you did this year, and then any new money was rolled up during the new formula. That was different from the hold harmless plan in the House. As we look at making some of these considerations, we see that we're up in our 135th day. that the step increase and cost of living increases for all of our, we're proposing it for all of our staff. The administration is the only group in our plan that does not get a raise, but all the other classes do. Providing the national board supplement, and looking at assignments for fund balance. And again, this is board decision once we bring in our final fund balances. One of those that we wanted the board to consider was a free snack program for all of our students. We have just seen as we're going to take away the free lunch program nationally, and we just worry about that extra cost on families. But if we could provide at least a snack for every child, we would ensure that every child ate every day. And so we'll bring those assignments to you individually to be approved one by one. When we look at projected revenues, again, we are honing in on the Senate plan. You see our local revenues that we're bringing this budget without an increase in operational millage. So we bring this with our current 246.1 mills. You see our state revenue that includes the base and the new formula roll-up. The Tier 1 and Tier 2 homestead exemptions don't change. The Tier 3 penny, you see that included in all homestead exemptions. The credit we get back from insurance, and our other state revenue and this comes, I mean, that's retirement, I'm sorry, that comes through our insurance. So these are monies that we get back. They go in and go right out to pay for employee benefits. And then monies that we get from those who are transferring in our district. They live outside of the district who are paying in. If you look at this in comparison to last year, that gives you kind of your ups and downs. We're projecting to be up on the Senate version now, 5.5%. You will see the large decrease in the revenue side. I'm sorry, for the aid to classrooms, that 12% increase. But if you look at other financing sources, that's all the EIA lines that we used to have in the old model being taken away. And so they show back up in the aid to classrooms there. We bring in with salary and fringe the majority, lion's share of what we are paying out, contractual services, which we had some savings there this year. But we know that all, as we've seen in the market, all asset prices are up. And so we have increases related there. It's going to take more to fuel the fleet, to get the school buses. We move 8,000 students a day. It's going to cost more for maintenance and fuel to move them around. I hope gas prices don't stay at this level, but we have put the increase in there. Small increase on capital outlay. There's going to be discussion about ESSER later on, but we have seen in terms of air quality that we have been able to do some ESSER replacements that have allowed some flexibility long term from the Office of School Facilities. So that does help us on capital layout. So that's why you don't see as big of a increase there. And then our transfer and payments again should stay flatlined. So this shows you our budget expenditures projected from last year, bringing in a balanced budget at $216,354,443. Some other considerations, again, there's no change in the operating millage. You look at the assessed value increase, and again, we have our homestead exemptions that we're budgeting in. Some expenditures that we have included, again, a step increase for all eligible staff, and that costs the 2% lift of the teacher salary schedule. That's on average, members of the board, so we went very aggressive on the first steps. So going from $39,853 for our opening sale to $41,600. So while that is not a 2% increase, that represents approximately 4.5% increase. Overall, when you lift the entire scale, it starts to flatten out towards the end. But that's to honor our first-year teachers, and we are still maintaining the NARI program, which is a new educators retention incentive of $2,500. So that's almost a 10% increase on that first sale. So we're making it a huge commitment to our first-year teachers, first to third-year teachers. 1% increase on employer cost retirement, and we're still watching in discussion this 18.1% increase for health insurance. I think the fly moves whoever's not talking. Yeah, that's.
Dr. Ross, I love you. I'm fighting a fly over here.
The fly is more important, more interesting than. I'm joking. But as we look at we would ask for a mid-year review to amendment. I think we did it this year, that we would come back and ask for an amendment more in January, February. Right now, looking at the calendar, we will, again, tomorrow we'll see a little bit more in terms of what conference comes out. And I think by our meeting, as we just discussed this Thursday, we can determine when best to put the budget workshop. Some other considerations, the final, I think most notably, is our final tax assessment values will be available in July. And so that's another consideration that we would use. Again, it will be after the passage of this, but it will be used in the mid-year evaluation. And so if we look back at allowable increases, we can bring this budget without an additional meal increase, but we just always, show you your options that are, under Act 388, which you're allowed to increase if you needed to do so. So looking at our look back meals under Section 6-1-320, we have 11.16 meals. If you look at the estimated value of one meal, that's about $300,000, so you can kind of see how much opportunity and space is there. This is important now because of the variance that we have with these plans. So we'll look tomorrow and see what the conference committee starts to signal. But right now, we plan to present a balanced budget. We'll know, this is a recap of our fund balance, and we believe that our projected fund balance in June of this year will be around $52,455,287. Again, this is projected, but we will present where we will be definitely at the end of the year. And so our recommendation is that we approved the first reading of fiscal year 2022-23 general fund budget as presented. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. Any questions on this?
Do we have to make a motion?
We do. Thank
First,
you.
and then ask
Go,
questions.
you go.
Okay, so we make the motion, I make the motion that the first reading of the fiscal year 2022, 2023 general fund budget as shown in Exhibit F be approved.
I see a second from Mr. Hogan. Now, I think he explained a lot in your presentation about we're going to have 3 readings, and there will be, that you made clear, there'll be what we call an input meeting before.
Right. I did have a question for Dr. Ross.
Okay.
I think the board is good stewards of the taxpayers' money, including the operations funds, which are basically paid by businesses, that we have the opportunity to raise an additional $3,400,000 roughly from what you just showed us, but that we have not done that, so that we're trying to foster, growth with our small businesses here. And I just wanted to ask you, is that a correct assumption?
That's correct. We do not want to, if we can live within our means, we're going to live within our means. We understand that there is talk of recession, and I'm not an economist, but small business is tough, and if we can do this without putting additional burden on any 6% property, we're going to try to do that, and so we're not recommending an operational mill increase.
Great. Any other questions? And so we'll probably call, Ms. Gardner.
Can you just clarify too, how much of, looks like our fund balance looks a little high to me for the projection. Is that sort of just to give us some wiggle room right now because we don't know what's going to happen?
We don't, and we understand the board's vision in terms of where it wants to be, and it's our board policy at 18%. So what you'll see is, as that starts to come in, and we're landing the plane to be fairly sure we'll be, you'll see that in assignments. One, it might be to get us out of any potential hole that we're in with this house plan. But you'll see other assignments like the food program, potential additional nests to support behavioral issues that we're seeing. So, and then $50 Fridays has been, in my opinion, what I've heard, a nice motivator and we did not have to pivot when gas prices went up. We had a $200 a month incentive built in. So it gives us that opportunity to talk about how we can use these assignments in the next budget for operational, and that would bring that down.
Do you know what 8% of our accrued value is?
So
Just to know
if
how
we
much
look
more,
at the last number of 586 million,
Yeah, I wrote it down.
so that'd be about $46 million.
Okay, so
yeah.
I got you. I was just trying to see how much, and I understand your idea of the need of it. And that was a good question, Ms. Gardner. Any other question? And we'll vote. All those in favor of first reading of this? Oh, I didn't see, you had a question? I'm sorry, I didn't
It's
see your
okay.
hand.
I'm just trying to frame my question in my mind. I see that, so on the, I'm recapping what you said, Dr. Ross. The estimated expenditures include what we think will be in the state's plan, right? Okay, and then the projected revenue Do we have a breakdown of where we're getting the projected revenue plan? I guess I'm a little bit, I just want to ask that because I know we've been very concerned about the state plan and how that will impact our district, and it's a pretty substantial increase in our budget and in our revenues. So I'm just trying to understand where we're getting that information from so that we know if there's going to be an issue where we have to increase millage because we've promised teachers the raise that the state, had allocated for teachers being paid under $40,000. So I'm just curious. I just want to make sure I understand where all of the numbers are coming from.
Yeah, good question. So we can get you kind of the roll-up of how local, state, and other financing sources were calculated. But in a general picture, we rely heavily on SCASBO's, and that's the School Business Office Association. They put out guidances from their legislative, I forget the name of the department, but every time a conference committee or a Senate committee makes a projection, they give us figures. We use those figures to determine the financing structures on the ground here. And so each one of them will have, if this plan was approved, this is what it would look like in real dollars for you. Does that make sense?
Right. It's just interesting to me that those two numbers kind of line up perfectly and we don't have to raise anything. So I would like to see the actual breakdown and the information that we have to, come up with these numbers.
No problem. We'll get that to you.
Okay. Yes, because we'll have 2 more readings. All right, any other questions? No questions, we'll vote. First reading, all those in favor? And that is 6, 0 opposed, so that carries for first reading.